Welcome to our webinar series. Now each week, I will be sharing you some nuggets of wisdom, some advice, some tips in terms of how to help you develop as a leader. And this will not only enable you to be transformed individually as a person, but it will also help you transform the organization that you lead or the organization that you work at. Not many of us really have actually been in a crisis, right? In a major crisis. And this may be the first time for many to be in a crisis as massive as the one that we are facing and experiencing now. But crisis is interesting, right? You know, the Chinese always say crisis means opportunity. And Winston Churchill once said, right, never waste a great crisis. And I agree with him. A crisis is an opportunity for us to transform ourselves. It's an opportunity for us to learn, to grow, and to develop into our full potential. So this webinar series and the first episode, I'm going to be zooming in on us as a person. How can you overcome the hurdles, the obstacles, the things that stand between you and success? How can we move forward, right? And many of us, right, may have grief. And grief is not just personal grief, right? Sometimes it's institutional grief or what we call organizational grief. Many organizations are grieving. We'll talk about how you, as a leader, can enable yourself to fix this grief and enable somebody to reattach to a new challenge, to a new process, to a new revenue source potentially, and also for yourself, maybe to a new career. And then from there, right, we want to talk a lot about the power of clarity. Clarity is the most important part of leadership, and especially in a crisis, clarity is key. But not just clarity, right? You then need to focus and zoom in and be able to really execute. So we're going to talk about this and many other things, and I want to tell you a little bit about myself. So I actually came back to Asia, spent many years with a company called General Electric in the US and in Europe, and I came back to Asia to take on one of the most challenging experiences or assignments that I've ever had before. You know, I was to take over a small company, a small overhaul shop in the aviation industry, and in an industry that I wasn't part of. So I was in TV, I was in healthcare, and a little bit and a lot of time, I guess I spent a lot of time in financial services, and a little bit here in other industries, but not in aviation. And I came back and I had to turn around a shop that was non-performing. You know, about 30 million US in revenue, but losing millions on a quarterly basis. But within 2 years, right, we took that shop and made it a very profitable shop. You know, made 5 times, 6 times what the revenues were, right? Almost 200-300 million US dollars in revenue. But not only that, right? We made that the best performing shop in the world, the most productive shop in the world. And the people in that shop became best in class. And even today, 20 years later, 22 years later, you go back to the shop, right? The shop is still one of the best performing entities in the entire world. And that's here in Malaysia. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about my lessons I learned from transforming that organization, but many other organizations across from that time forward, and more interestingly, what it means for you as a leader. How do you need to act? How do you need to change? How do you need to react, especially in a time of crisis? So this webinar series will be a series that I'll run on a weekly basis, and there'll be different insights that are shared at different webinars, and feel free to register for whichever webinar that's relevant for you or sign up for the whole series and learn something every week. Now, for the first webinar, I'm going to focus a little bit more on personal transformation and organizational transformation. And if you sign up now for this webinar series, right, we are going to give you a free ebook titled Leadership Nuggets. And this is a book that has a bunch of leaders, John Maxwell, Welch, and a number of people writing little nuggets of wisdom, little advice that on a daily basis you can read and you can learn and internalize and help you in your journey to becoming a great leader. So I look forward to seeing you at the webinar series, and sign up. You know, it's as simple as clicking the button below, and we will see you in the next week at our webinars. Look forward to seeing and meeting each and every one of you at the webinars. All the best. Have a great week ahead.